obviously like that, but it was just like an S shape. So it was just completely like a Z or an S. My hand was basically up and away from my wrist. So I was talking to somebody the other day about how I ended up like breaking my wrist when I was younger. And I've never considered it like an interesting story at all, but apparently it is. So I thought I'd share it. So basically, this is going way back. I was in secondary school, so long time ago. And it was a PE lesson. And what we used to have was we had like these trampolines. They're not sort of like your circular ones. They were, I guess, big rectangular things. And they had straps, I guess, for like the webbing, the thing you jump on. Pretty like industrial. And like we always used to be told, don't fold it away yourself. Always make sure that you partnered with somebody because it was us who had to put it away. And, you know, like be careful because they're really powerful. So I don't know what like was happening at the time, but I was partnered with somebody. We were going to put this trampoline away, and I just had this like belief that, oh yeah, I'm going to be really helpful and just like put it away myself. So if you were to imagine it, say you've got sort of like the trampoline square is this, it's sort of got its metal rectangle around it where it holds the trampoline sheet. At the very ends, it was kind of like there were two bits of padding, and what used to happen was you'd fold them in and then you'd kind of fold the middle in, I think, or maybe it's that you fold them down and then fold the middle in. Either way, the middle of the trampoline kind of like folds up. So you had to kind of lower one side, and that's where you'd have your partner. They'd be on the other side, they'd lower it too. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to put a bit of like strength into it because it's just one person. So I remember grabbing it, literally like grabbing the metal bar things, lifting it up, and then I just felt like, I guess my hand just stuck. Like, so from here to here, just stuck. And I remember it feeling like I can't actually like get it out. And this must have been in seconds. And this was kind of the worst part of it. I was sort of like stuck. I remember going to kind of like turn to try and get somebody's attention, and then just this feeling. And it was a feeling of my hand being kind of like pushed into itself, like almost past the bone and kind of upwards. And then I'm not sure how, but I kind of like wriggled my hand out. And I remember it felt like really, really numb. So I didn't, I think there was a few seconds where I didn't really think much of it, just I've got my hand out. And I turned and basically looked over to kind of like where people were. And I think it was just to kind of see like, did they see what just happened? It's just almost like, you know, being dramatic. I just almost died. And then I realised like I kind of couldn't feel my hand at all. It was just kind of like this hot numbness. And I don't think they were laughing at me. Now that obviously it's been a very, very long time, I don't think they were even paying attention, but they turned and they were laughing, and I remember it really, really angered me. And like I was gonna just show my arm and think it was like, I don't know, red or something, or like it looked sore. And I just put my arm up, and I remember going like, look at my hand. And I remember just thinking like, it feels like it's, I don't know, I thought it had maybe been like so bruised or something. Bear in mind I was a kid, that like it had just gone numb. And I think I just didn't want to look at it because that felt worse, I guess. But yeah, I remember just putting my hand up, showing them and going like, look at my fucking hand, because I just assumed they were laughing at me. And then one of them screamed, and that's where I looked at it, and my hand was just like, obviously like that, but it was just like an S shape. So it was just completely like a Z or an S. My hand was basically up and away from my wrist, but it was still kind of solid. And I think at that point the teacher kind of like saw. By the way, Trampoline has completely folded down, so well done me on that. I did what I intended to. But yeah, she come over, and you know when you can tell something's wrong, because I just looked at her, I guess as like being a kid to an adult, and you look at them kind of like, what's going to happen, what are we going to do, what's going on? And I remember looking at her and this fear of like, if she just went, oh my fucking god, it wouldn't be surprising. She didn't, but that just look of terror on her face. So I thought, oh no, it's bad. This is what like breaking your arm is, I guess. And yeah, so she came over. I think she must have been panicking about a job, because she was absolutely adamant. She was like, "Oh no, that's like a sprain. You've just sprained your wrist." And I remember she had like pressure on it, obviously with 2 hands, and she was kind of holding it. And you know, when you just, even though I couldn't really feel much, I guess, she just like squeezed as if she was trying to put something back into place. And I thought, oh, it's S-shaped, so like maybe she can like just push it in. But obviously she's telling, again, adult brain compared to a kid brain, she's telling me, no, it's just a sprain, it's fine, oh, you'll be fine in a minute, even though my hand's like a fucking Z. She's obviously like just terrified at like the idea of this has just happened when she's supposed to be doing it. And when I think about it as well, I don't even know if like kids are supposed to be putting it away. But either way, she's in terror. These 2 like girls had come over and they've been really weird. So like, I don't know what it means for like my pain tolerance. There's loads of things that like would make me cry. A really bad migraine can pretty much do that. Toothache, earache, anything like that, that maddening pain. Sure, I can imagine I'd get to a point where I cry. But they just kept telling me over and over again, oh wait, just let it out, just let the tears out, it's okay, no one's gonna laugh at you for crying. And you know, when you're there, just like, obviously way before people were using the word like gaslighting, at least like as much as they are now, but I was just sat there thinking like, am I going crazy? Like, it's not a cry type situation, it just feels awful. Like, it feels really bad. I don't need to cry. And they were kind of like getting angry at me as I'm sat there just, I guess, just waiting for something to happen, like what happens next sort of thing. And yeah, one of them was just sort of like, well, you know what, just fuck off then. And you know, you think like, wow, should I cry? Should I just burst into tears and cry? Anyway, they'd left. And I remember my mum didn't like drive or anything like that. And my little brother's dad, he would have been at work. And I thought, like, again, kid brain, you're like, oh, I can't cause like all this trouble and stuff. I can't bother people with this. Because they were trying to get like somebody to take me to the hospital. I think when they realised that Z-shaped sprain isn't getting any better. If anything, it's just hurting more as time goes on. Yeah, so I said to my cousin who went to the same school as me, I was like, can you just phone like your dad? And long story, that our side of the family didn't get on at the time, and like, without getting into it, like in a huge way, like really huge way. And obviously it was a bit awkward and stuff, I imagine, on her end, because she's thinking, oh my god, you know, are they going to have to like bump into each other, whatever the situation is. But bless her, she asked him, and God love him, he took me to the hospital, got it all kind of like looked at, and yeah, they told me like, broke your growth plate. And I think as a kid you don't really think, I don't know, I guess I didn't question it. So like, I think for a long time I just thought, oh yeah, we all have like growth plates in our wrist, and I guess you just snap it and it's all fine. And I remember it had been, because they'd like put me into hospital, like I didn't go home for ages. I can't remember how long, but I was in there for so long in that hospital. And yeah, I think it was like that day or the next day they explained like what it was, kind of. So they said like, oh yeah, so like that we think we can do like something to sort it out, or like set your arm and stuff, but you've snapped the growth plate like kind of directly in the middle. It's basically like in 2 pieces, and that's responsible for like how your hand is, like your hand and your wrist, that area, the bones there are gonna grow as you get older. So like there's a possibility your hand just might not grow. And I remember thinking like that, for one, that's crazy, but just thinking like, oh, it wouldn't be like a big deal at all. And it wasn't normal sized hands, but like you had that moment where I don't think I fully knew like what it meant. But anyway, it turns out the growth plate is one of those things where it's like kind of bony bit of cartilage that you just, I think it just gets like absorbed, or maybe it becomes bone or something. But either way, you don't have it as an adult. But I think that does help shape how all of that goes on as you develop. And Yeah, I was in hospital for ages, and I remember when I got out and stuff, they gave me like this cast, and it wasn't sort of, even though this was the area that was like damaged, it was like not just a cast to here, it was a cast like right up to my armpit. So I was basically like this. I think it was for about 4 months I had to have that on, and then I think for the last 2 months it was like a wrist cast. So it was horrible, absolutely horrible. And I remember one point, I think it was when they changed the cast, even though it had been like such a long time, they like cut it all off and stuff. I also don't know what operation they actually did. They did something. I have like a scar somewhere, or I'm sure I did. I remember that, I know I had a scar on here, but I remember at the time thinking it had something to do with that. But again, I was really young, so I don't know. I don't think I have like pins or anything, but then I'm not sure, because they said that's what they might have to do. You know when you're just very like uninvolved about it. But anyway, they cut the cast off and stuff when they were changing it, and I just remember like the feeling of it was like horrible. So obviously you've got like the weakness because you've had a cast on the whole time, but like it was sort of like in this cut cast open, and they were like, oh, can you just lift your arm? And it was like, it felt like my hand was just like far too heavy. The only way I can kind of describe it is like, imagine you've got like one of those really like little frail bits of like twig, like from a tree or something, and you're literally just trying to like pull, I don't know, something heavy. Like you've got that twig, piece of string on a heavy table, and you're just trying to lift it, and you know that string is going to break, the twig is going to break, but the table is not going to lift. And it just felt like that with my hand. And even past like, I'm sure it was around 4 months, I remember having to like pick it up and like kind of like hold the area, and then they put the proper cast on, and then that went I think after 2 months time. And I was really lucky, like nothing was affected. I was told like I'm not supposed to like pick really heavy stuff up with my left hand, but I have and stuff, and like jobs, and I've done like delivery bits, and again probably shouldn't, but it seems fine. But like I've always viewed that as like, and maybe it is a pretty like non-story, but I always found it just like crazy kind of thinking about it in terms of like what came about because of it. And I remember like my mum was, I'm sure it was my mum who said it might have just been like a friend or something, but they were just kind of talking about like, oh, and did you like take them to court for anything? And it's like, no. And just kind of having the realization like, should I have?